Today we're going to learn about speed word problem. Let's say we have a problem like this. The distance between town A and town B was 100 miles. At 7 a.m., Andy left town A and cycled to town B. Grace left town A and cycled towards town B at 7:30 a.m. Grace's cycling speed was 2 miles per hour faster than Andy's. At 11 a.m., Grace caught up with Andy. When Grace was 20 miles from town B, she stopped to wait for Andy. How far was Andy from Grace when she stopped to wait for him? Now, the problem states that the distance between town A and town B was 100 miles. So, let's draw this road from town A to town B. Let's say this is where town A is, and we're driving towards town B. This is town B. Now we know that the distance between town A and town B was 100 miles. It was 100 miles. Now we know that Andy left town A and cycled towards town B and at 7 a.m. So Andy, A for Andy, left town A and cycled towards town B at 7 a.m. And Grace left town A and cycled towards town B at 7:30 a.m. So Grace, G for Grace, left town A and cycled towards town B at 7:30 a.m. Now we know that Grace's cycling speed was 2 miles per hour faster than Andy's. So let's say that Andy's speed is equal to AS. So this means that Grace's speed is equal to GS, or from the problem, Grace's speed is 2 miles per hour faster than Andy's. So it's equal to Andy's speed plus 2. Now we know that by 11 a.m., Grace caught up with Andy. So at 11 a.m., Grace caught up with Andy. So let's say this is where Grace and Andy met at 11 a.m. So met M for met at 11 o'clock a.m. So we know that the time that Andy took from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. is equal to 4 hours. And the time that Grace took to go from 7:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. 11 o'clock a.m. is equal to 3.5 hours. Now, we know that speed is equal to distance over time. So this means that distance is equal to speed times time. Now, let's find the distance that Andy traveled from town A to where they met. So the distance, D for distance, is equal to the speed times the time. The speed is AS times the time, which is 4 hours. This is equal to 4 AS. Now let's find the distance that Grace traveled from town A to where they met. The distance, D for distance, is equal to the speed, which is AS plus 2, times the time, which is 3.5 hours. So, this is equal to 3.5 AS plus 7. Now, we know that the distance from town A to the place that they met is the same in both these equations. They travel the same distance from town A to where they met in both these equations. So, this means that 4AS, let's block off a little space, so this means that 4AS is equal to 3.5 AS plus 7. So let's get the variables on one side and the numbers on the other side. So to do that, we have to get rid of 3.5 AS from this side of the equation. So we subtract 3.5 AS from this side of the equation, and we know that whatever we do on one side of the equation, we have to do on the other side of the equation. So minus 3.5 AS. So we get 4AS minus 3.5 AS is 0.5 AS, which is equal to 3.5 AS minus 3.5 AS cancels out, so we get 7. So 0.5 AS is equal to 7. Let's rewrite this here. 0.5 AS is equal to 7. So 1 AS, or AS, is equal to 7 times 2, because 0.5 goes into 1 twice. This is equal to 14 miles per hour. Because Andy's speed is equal to 14 miles per hour. Now let's find Grace's speed. G for Grace, S for speed, is equal to Andy's speed plus 2, or 14 miles per hour plus 2, which is equal to 16 miles per hour. So, Grace's speed is equal to 16 miles per hour. Now the problem states that when Grace was 20 miles from town B, she stopped to wait for Andy. So, this is where Grace stopped to wait for Andy, G for Grace. And the distance from here to town B is 20 miles. So this means that the distance she already traveled is equal to 100 minus 20, which is equal to 80 miles. So the distance from town A to where she stopped is 80 miles per hour. So, because the total distance from town A to town B, which is 100 miles, minus the extra 20 miles that she hasn't finished yet, is equal to 80 miles that she has finished. So, let's find Grace's time to travel this 80 miles. Grace's time to travel the 80 miles. So, Grace's time to travel the 80 miles is equal to the distance over the speed. And we know that the distance is equal to 80 miles divided by the speed, which is 16 miles per hour, is equal to 5 hours. So Grace's time is equal to 5 hours. Now let's find out, now we know that, let's find out Andy's time to travel 80 miles. Andy's time to travel 80 miles is equal to 5 hours plus 0.5 hours because he started 30 minutes earlier, 30 minutes before 7:30 a.m., which is 7 a.m., plus 0.5 hours, which is equal to 5.5 hours. Now let's find Grace's distance. So the distance Grace traveled so far, we know, is equal to 80 miles. Is equal to 18 miles. And let's find Andy's distance. So Andy's distance is equal to the speed times the time. And we know that the speed is equal to 14 miles per hour times the time, 5.5, times the speed, which is 5.5, times the time, or the speed, which is 14 miles per hour, times the time, which is 5.5 hours, is equal to 77 miles. So Andy's distance is equal to 77 miles that he traveled. So let's find the difference in the distance. So the difference in the distance is equal to 80 miles minus 77 miles, which is equal to 3 miles. So, the answer to this problem, which is how far was Andy from Grace when she stopped to wait for him, is Andy was 3 miles away from Grace when she stopped to wait for him. Today we learned about speed word problem. Thank you for watching this video.